Ni hao. What's up, Stephanie? I just realized I have little lip stains all over my mug. I love my monkey mug. Hey there. All right, so I got another listener question. So this is really exciting because I haven't been posting as many videos because my methods have stayed very similar. And although I am studying like a fiend in order to get ready for the December HSK3 test, there isn't a lot of new happening. So I'm excited that you guys are sending in questions because that reminds me of things that I need to update you on, update myself on, remind myself of the progress that's actually happening, even though it seems to be slowing down, and some other things. So I'm super excited. And there's a bunch of new people on the channel. Welcome! Yeah, I just learned that word recently and it's not in here right now at this very moment. Some words come in and out. Like I'll remember them sometimes and not remember them other times until I remember them all the time. I don't know. I give up on trying to make sense of language learning. I'm just excited that there's learning happening. Yeah. All right, so the question is from the video that I did when I finished my first round of the Leitner box. The Leitner box, for those of you that don't know, is the time-space repetition system that a lot of online mobile apps and things use, like Anki, Memrise, Duolingo. They use this system. Only they do it for you in an automated form. The Leitner box is a system, as you can see here, which has 64 days, and it tells you which level to do on which day. The reason why it's probably not as popular is it's not as mobile. Here is my actual Leitner box with levels 2 through 7. Leitner box has 7 levels. The lower levels are repeated more often because you're more likely to forget them because they're newer or harder, or both in my case. And the higher ones are the ones that you've remembered more often, so they get moved up the chain more. I'm doing some tweaks with the Leitner box. I've been doing tweaks for the whole time that I've had it, almost. I think I used it exactly as it was first recommended for like a couple of months, and then I didn't. Because Chinese is very different than some other languages, so I've realized that I need a bit more scaffolding in the first level. And this is going to address directly the question that was asked from Dizzius, Dizzius. And down in the show notes, I'll put the link to the video that he asked the question about. And he says, I'm assuming it's a he, I don't know, 70% of YouTube viewers are he, so I should just say, not are men, so I'm assuming it's a man. And yeah, so that's it. So he or she said, I didn't watch the whole video, sorry. Wait, what? Dilius, why? Why did you leave it? Why didn't you watch the whole thing? Oh my gosh. Excuse me. Okay, no, I'm totally kidding. I know my videos are too long. It's the nature of talking about language learning. It's super hard to dip out in 5 minutes. I found that out when I tried to do 5-minute month a few months ago. Super hard to talk about this stuff in 5 minutes. So I understand. But he watched long enough to have a question, which is awesome. Sorry for the overdramatics. We have a new espresso machine, and so my highs are high, my lows are low. My lows aren't low. So my highs are high, and I had a lot. I think I did a three shot espresso cappuccino this morning. I learned how to make the froth. I had learned how to use the frother, and I couldn't get a lot of froth going, but I definitely can make the espresso shots. Super strong, apparently. Anyway, point being, his question is, but how many new vocab words did you add each day? The reason why I'm making a video about this and not just responding as words is that the answer is a visual answer. There isn't a set number per day. And Busiest, I hope you make it to the end because I think there is some interesting things and some lessons and some language learning flexibility that can be reinforced in this video. I hope. There's your preview. All right. So, like I said, this 64-day process, they tell me what level to do on each day, and I actually just write down the days that I do them to make sure, kind of as an accountability thing, and as a boost to remind myself that I've done it. Now, my box has 2 through 7 here, so I take out whichever level I need, and I do those cards normally for now. But I have transformed level 1 because I found that level 1 was the hardest, and it was the level that it took the longest to get to the next level. So I wanted to scaffold level 1 to make it less stressful, easier, and where I could recognize the words quicker. Like it was so stressful to remember, because let me show you an example. My cards go straight from Hansa characters to the pinyin in English. I go this way. I look at this and try to remember these. I know some people go from English to the characters or from pinyin to the characters, but since my main goal, my 99% goal, sorry, it's a little hot in here. I'm going to open this up so we can get some air. Anyway, my main goal is reading. I want to get comfortable with the characters in the language itself. And I have different things around them that I find helpful, like how many syllables, what part of speech, what level, and what chapter. This one doesn't have the chapter because it's from level 2. That's before I put that. So that's what my cards look like. But I found it too hard to just have new ones like this, because then I was just constantly looking at them and going, failure, failure, each time I would see them, which for level 1 is every day, and I didn't like that. So what I did is I scaffolded level 1. So this whole thing is devoted to level 1. I've got different supplies in here. So there's 3 pockets. There's the middle pocket here. There's 1 pocket on this side and 1 pocket on this side. I'm pretty sure this is meant to just be a pencil case. I bought it in China, but it's in French. Isn't that French? Hey, you guys who speak French, is that French? Anyway, so there you go. My international life in China. For those of you that are new, I live in Shanghai, China. Anyway, so these 2 in the middle part, I have the level 1 cards, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. And that directly applies to this question here. And then on the other side, I have cards that are ready. I'm getting ready with chapter 7 vocabulary. I'm working on my new chapter this week in HSK 3 is chapter 6, and chapter 7 starts next week. I like doing the vocabulary at least a week or 2 before, so I can at least recognize, if not be able to read the character. So I've got a bunch of cards in here from chapter 7 that are ready to go when I have space for a new word, and I'll show you what that means in a minute. In the other pouch, I have different notes, different cards that need to be redone, different confusion cards that I need to make. I tend to put little notes to myself. I need to make a card where I compare travel and swim. Travel, I remember, is Luyo, different tones, because I can't do tones yet very well, and swim, which I don't even remember the name of, but apparently those words in visual form I confuse, so I'm going to make a card that compares them, sort of like this confusion card, which is in the old flashcard format. This one I need to actually redo to the smaller size. So there's a bunch of like kind of to-do things over here, some extra note cards and extra paper, and of course extra rubber bands so I can tie up different things if I need to make piles. Okay, but the main question then is here. And I'm going to need to turn the phone around to show you how I study these. I've made this a matching exercise. And I think I've done a video just on this, but I want to show you because this is exactly how I decide how many per day. Let me get rid of that so I don't get my electronics wet. So I'm going to turn the thing around in just a second, so don't worry, but I want to get set up first. So what I have in each deck, I have 2 decks together with a rubber band. So I have 2 decks in there and 2 decks in the other one that I'm working with now. So there's essentially 9 cards per deck times 4 decks, 36 cards at any given time. For some reason, it just seems to work really, really well. If I have too many cards together and I do a matching activity with more than 9, it's too overwhelming for new cards. Again, these are new vocabulary, and so I want to match them. I'll have the regular cards that will stay in the permanent collection that have the Hansa, the pinyin, and the English. And then I'll have the matching. This is not the matching for this, but it's a temporary card. You can tell because I recycle them, and it's not the pretty flashcard cards. It's just old paper. And so I'll have the pinyin, the number, which is just the number from the HSK list, and the meaning down here in English. And so what I'll do is for 9 cards, let's see if I can turn this puppy around. Let me just do it like this. Okay, here's my finger. Here you go. So the 9 cards are here. Okay, so the first step I'll do is I will look at the cards, and I will, without the matching, I'll just look at the new cards, I'll spread them out like that, and I'll look at them and I'll try to think, do I recognize any of these? I'm looking at this now. I remember this is, I'm going to cover the back so I don't see it. This is Ren Jen, so I can read it, but do I remember what it means? I tend to confuse this with Keren, which is guest. Again, my tones suck, so please ignore that for now. I think this is a personal characteristic, right? So it's like sincere. It's not hardworking. That's another vocab word from HSK3. I'm going to guess it's sincere. And it's actually serious or earnest, but I had the pinyin right. I really want more than that, so I'm going to keep it in there for another day. But if I did get that one, it would automatically come out and go into level 2 in the box. And then I would go into this deck of ready-made ones, and I would put that in the deck, in the 9, in that pile of 9. Okay, so I do that with all 4 of the decks that I have. Give me 1 second. I want to see if there's any that I can actually recognize. The chapter 6 ones have been stressing me out a little because they're going a little slower in my recognition area. I think this one is, the pinyin is just the letter E, no tone, and I think it's hungry. No! See, now, because I do this first before I match, I can actually find some confusion cards that I can make. I'm confusing this with the one that is E, and let me find that in Pleco and show you. And so what I'll do there is I'll make a confusion card with both of them on there. Let me show you why I think that looks similar. Can you see in the red up here? Okay, so in red, not the one in parentheses, and this one here. I don't know if you can see both of those at the same time. Now I'm going to look at it and tell you why that might be confusing. Oh yeah, I can see why that's confusing. They have different elements of the same of the same thing. No wonder I'm confusing that. I'm going to make a note to make a confusion card of those two. So that helps me create the confusion card so that I can get used to the ones that are similar to each other, which is really helpful. So what normally could be a very quick process of just going through card after card, and if you remember it, you remember it. If I don't, I don't. If I remember it, I remember it. If I don't, I don't. I've added on layers to it to help me later when I'm going to make mistakes. So that sucks, so I didn't remember that. But basically, I would just take cards out if I can remember them and put new cards in. So there isn't a set number, to answer your question, Dizius. There isn't an exact number that goes in every day. I do notice that some days, I've been meaning actually to track how many come out of level 1 and go into level 2 on a given day, but it varies so much, and honestly, I'm so concentrating on the vocabulary and creating the confusion cards and trying to remember the meanings and remembering examples from the listening and things like that, that I forget to keep track of the number. Maybe that's something I can add. Maybe that's like a different thing I can put on the back of my Leitner list. Maybe, because that would be interesting. But to answer your question, some days like yesterday, 2 come out of all 4 decks. So there's 36 cards, only 2 of them go up to level 2. A few days ago, I hit a streak where I was getting really close to remembering many of them, and I think I had about 7 or 8 that went up to level 2. Out of 36, that felt like a really satisfying day. And what happens is that I tend to keep them in the same decks, the same 9 cards together, but new cards will come in with the old cards. So if there's one that I feel like I've kind of got right, I'll keep it in there an extra day so there's some familiarity in that deck for when the new cards come in, so that there's a balance of old and new together. But there isn't an exact number that goes with this process. It's been working pretty well though. I like to stay about a week or 2 ahead of the chapters I'm doing in the book itself, and just organically going with the ones that go up to level 2 and then replacing them as is. I've got all of level 6 in here now, which is really good. And I've started, this is a chapter 7 card, and I'm starting chapter 7. Today's Tuesday, and I'm starting it when Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, in 5 more days. So I'll already have, I'll probably have most of, if not all of chapter 7, at least in level 1 and some of them in level 2 by the time I start that chapter. I'd like for them all to be in level 2 or level 3 by the time I start the chapter, but I don't want to force it so fast that I don't give my brain time to process, compare it to other ones, all the stuff that do all the animations, like spend time with the words. So I don't want to rush that time. So I'm going to do this organically as much as I can until it doesn't work anymore. And so far, so good. So in my actual study schedule, I actually have flashcard days where I make new flashcards to put into that ready slot. The ones that are in here, ready to go for when I need new ones. So I've got those planned out for all 20 chapters. So I think I'm doing a couple of chapters a week, which is only about 12 or 15 cards. So it's about maybe 25, 30 cards for those few days. And then once I get super ahead, then I'm only going to do 1 chapter's worth of cards a week. And again, they just sit in that pouch until I'm ready, and then I just take them out and add them to the deck. So that's how I've transformed level 1. And that dictates how many new cards I get per day. There's a lot of new cards in there now, so I have to tell you, I'm not looking forward to level 1. But in doing it in a matching fashion is much better. Oh, sorry. So after I look at them and try to remember them, if I don't, then I pull out the matching cards and I just match them up. And then I put them back in to this and I put them back in the pouch and they come out tomorrow until I can recognize them without matching them. That's when I know they get up to the next level. So that is not a regular Leitner system. That is something I added because the structure, the look of the Hansa characters is so much harder than just Latin, the Latin alphabet that we use in a lot of Western languages. So I added that step to it. I'm tempted to do something unique to level 2 as well, because now I'm finding that level 1's going faster, level 2 has a glut, and level 2 is now the most difficult level for me. So I'm thinking of transforming level 2 into maybe a writing part where I need to be able to write it, and that'll bring back more of the writing into my study practice. Will it take too long to get to level 2? That is part of the disadvantage of that, but I also really like writing, so I don't know. So if you have any ideas on what simple tweak I can do to level 2 to help remember those words without creating another matching activity, because I want that to be just level 1, level 2 to be something else. And I think the rest of the levels honestly can stay as they are because they're much less frequent, so it's just a matter of reviewing the words in themselves. My husband gave me a good idea of taking some of the collocations, not just making cards from them, but making them part of the original cards of these words. These are all just words for now, generally speaking. Some of them are phrases, but the vast majority are just a single word. I don't know. I think I feel better just making a collocation card and maybe have an example on the back. But I don't know if I want to make the card that complicated starting at level 1. And I certainly don't want to change the permanent card from level 1 to level 2 to level 3. I want it to be the same card the whole way through. So I'm still thinking about what to do with those collocations, how to get them into the Leitner box. So there's a lot of changes that you can make with the Leitner box. Or you could just do it normal. You totally can. It still works. It works for me. It worked for me for months. But after doing it for that long, I really, really started to wonder if there was an easier way that I could push through level 1. And I find that doing this really, really helps with the stress of not recognizing a word in the Hansa characters. I could probably get rid of level 1 now, to be honest with you, since I've gotten so much more comfortable with reading whole sentences without spaces. But I don't really feel the need to stop. It feels like a much softer landing with new vocabulary. And you know what? Whatever I can do to make this a less painful process and to bring the joy of language learning back, which is definitely what happens in the upper levels, and with using it and with being able to read it in a sentence, there's few joys that are greater than that. And I know what you're thinking. And yes, of course that's better, but that's not what I'm talking about right now, people. Snap to it. We're talking about languages. If you made it this far, you deserve that joke. So go ahead and giggle. All right. Yeah. So I'm going to go now. Thank you very much for your question. And for the rest of you who have questions, feel free to leave it down below. If it's a short answer, I'll type an answer, no problem. But if it is a longer one that needs to be made into a video, you know what I'm going to do. 再见.